Hello Year 8. Here are the answers to today's home learning on Dalton's atomic model. So, to begin with, I asked you to draw what you thought an atom looked like, and there were some fantastic ideas that you came up with. We're going to learn a little bit more about that later on. And then there was a little video clip about Democritus. So Democritus said that atoms were all different shapes and sizes, and if you look in this picture behind him, you can see he thought that they were literally different shapes and different sizes. So air particles were smaller than iron particles, and iron particles were spiky. So that's basically what he thought. And we moved on a long time. So you can see on the timeline across the middle, Democritus was around 400 years before Christ, and we're talking over 2,000 years between these two scientists having their ideas. So there was another video about John Dalton, and he basically said that atoms in elements are identical, but each element has a different atom. So similar to Democritus, but then question 3, this was two answers in one box, suggests a difference between how they worked out their ideas. So Democritus was a man who had an idea. Dalton had an idea built on previous ideas. He collected evidence, he did experiments, and then he came up with his theory, which is the way that scientists like to do it. So then we talked a little bit about physical properties. So physical properties, or properties, are ways that materials behave. So if it's got a physical property, we can look at its colour, its melting point, density, this list in the yellow box, all different things that you can use to compare elements. And I asked you to do a little bit of research to find out the physical properties of these 4 elements, and you did some absolutely brilliant research. I would just draw your attention to the last column. Flexible means bendy, so magnesium and copper are both metals, and they are flexible because all metals are flexible. Sulfur and carbon are non-metals, and that makes them both brittle, so that was really the only column that had a few errors in. Then we looked at a specific example of gallium, which has a melting point of 30 degrees, so it will melt in your hand. Mercury will evaporate to form a gas, and when it cools, the changes reverses and droplets formed by condensation. So some keywords there that I mentioned: melting, evaporating, condensing, different changes of state. Okay, and then it asks what change would occur if liquid gallium is removed from the hand in the photo. So it's a liquid, and if you take away the heat, that means it will freeze or solidify. If the heat from the hand is removed, so it's going to turn from a liquid into a solid. And then question 5 says explain 3 other changes of state. So using those words from the previous slide: melting, when a solid turns into a liquid because atoms gain energy and move more. Evaporating or boiling is where a liquid turns into a gas. This is because the atoms in the liquid gain enough energy to escape the surface and become a gas. Condensing is when a gas turns into a liquid, and this happens when a gas cools and the atoms lose energy, slowing them down and moving them closer together. So this was quite a bigger answer. What we need to start doing is thinking about, are we really answering the question, or are we just writing 2 or 3 words in the hope that we're giving it a good guess? If we were in a classroom, you would be asked to write in full sentences, so you should be able to do that here as well. Okay, symbols. So Dalton introduced some symbols to represent his elements, and the modern symbols are similar but consist of letters, and the first letter is always a capital and the second letter is a small letter. And they have been agreed by something called the International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry. So I asked you, why do you think all countries have the same symbol? And the reason is so that no matter what language you speak, we know what we're talking about in chemistry. So some people selected the other options as well, but the real reason is we all want to understand. We don't want to accidentally mix the wrong chemicals together and cause some sort of accident. And then I asked you to look at the table and to draw what Dalton's symbols were, but then to do a little bit of research and find out what the international symbol for these different elements is. So hydrogen was a circle with a dot in, and now we use the symbol capital H. Phosphorus was like a peace sign, and we use the symbol P. So you'll notice for both of those, it's the first letter of the word, and for a lot of the elements, that's true. It's the same letter, the first letter. Lead was actually named from its Latin name, which was plumbum. So it used to have a symbol of an L in a circle, but now it's got the symbol capital P little b, and that was because of its Latin name plumbum. Okay, and then I asked you for some feedback. I could tell from your answers where you're like something, nothing, whatever. The feedback was not something you focused your attention on, but really, if you didn't like something in the lesson and you don't tell me, I'm not going to change it unless I know that you didn't like it. So the feedback is actually very useful. Things that people said they liked were that this work was interactive. You got to do some drawing. They liked filling in the tables. And I have to say, Ryan, your tables and your colour schemes are beautiful to mark. What didn't you like? You didn't like my videos? I won't be offended by that, but if you could expand on the word videos, that would really help me. Is that you didn't like my videos, or you just don't like watching videos in general? And you didn't like reading. I want to show you something. At the bottom of the screen here, you can see there's like a little, on the bottom right hand side, a little book with a speaker. And if you press that, it will actually take you to something called Immersive Reader. And if you press the play button...
What did you like? What didn't you like?
Okay, it will actually read to you. So if you don't like reading, you can press that symbol in the bottom right hand corner and it will read to you. What was easy? Things like watching videos. What was hard? The research. But I was very proud of you. You did really, really well. I was very impressed with this work. I look forward to marking more work from you. You're doing amazing. Keep up the good work, and I'll see you again soon.